January 15th, 2016. The remote town of El Adde in Somalia's Gedo region. To the outside world, it was just another military outpost in the African Union mission in Somalia, or AMISOM, manned by the Kenya Defense Forces. But to the soldiers of the 9th and 5th Kenya Rifles, it was their forward operating base, a shield against the persistent threat of Al-Shabaab. What unfolded that day would become one of the single deadliest attacks on a military base in Kenyan history, a devastating, meticulously planned assault by the Al-Qaeda-affiliated terror group, Al-Shabaab. It was a day that laid bare the brutal realities of the war in Somalia and left a scar on the Kenyan military that has yet to fully heal. This is the story of the Battle of El Ade, the devastating surprise attack, the fierce fight for survival, and the lingering questions surrounding Kenya's worst military disaster. To understand El Ade, we must first look at why KDF was in Somalia. In 2011, Kenya launched Operation Linda Nunchi after a series of kidnappings and cross-border attacks by Al-Shabaab. The mission soon evolved into joining the multinational AMISOM force, aimed at supporting the Somali government against the militants. KDF's presence was a necessary counterterrorism measure, but it came with a heavy price. Al-Shabaab responded by targeting Kenya directly, with devastating attacks like the Westgate Mall siege in 2013 and the Garissa University massacre in 2015. By early 2016, the El Ade forward operating base was a critical but vulnerable position deep in Al-Shabaab territory. Just 2 weeks before the attack, the camp's garrison had been relieved by fresh troops from the 9th and 5th Kenya Rifles. Intelligence reports later revealed had warned of a potential attack, but it seems basic defensive preparations were lacking. The stage was set for a catastrophe. January 15th at 6:30 a.m. Pre-dawn. Many soldiers were still asleep or preparing for morning prayers. The attack began not with small arms fire, but with a colossal explosion. A suicide bomber, driving an armored personnel carrier laden with explosives, rammed the main gate. The blast was immense, reportedly 3 times more powerful than the 1998 U.S. Embassy bombing in Nairobi. It flattened command buildings, destroyed the armory, and instantly killed dozens. The V-bead was the opening act. Immediately, between 150 and 300 heavily armed Al-Shabaab militants, part of the group's elite Saleh Naban brigade, poured through the breach. They moved quickly, efficiently, and with overwhelming force. The KDF soldiers, caught off guard, fought back fiercely, but the initial blast had severed communications and decimated the camp's heavy weaponry. It was a desperate close-quarters battle. Survivors later recounted scenes of incredible bravery and brutal hand-to-hand combat. Wave after wave of Al-Shabaab fighters pressed the advantage. Within the first hour, the militants had effectively overrun the base. The battle became a rout, as surviving KDF soldiers attempted to flee into the dense surrounding bush. Al-Shabaab did not stop there. They hunted the fleeing soldiers for hours, capturing some and executing others. The militants claimed to have killed over 100 soldiers, a number later corroborated by various intelligence sources as being between 141 and 200 fatalities. It was a military annihilation. The immediate aftermath was marked by a chilling silence from the Kenyan government. They confirmed the attack but refused to release an official casualty figure, fueling speculation and distress back home. The lack of transparency was criticized internationally. Somali President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud stated that up to 200 Kenyan troops were killed, a figure that KDF immediately disputed. But evidence, including DNA analysis of the remains recovered, suggested a massive loss. Al-Shabaab, however, had no intention of letting the world forget. They released a 48-minute propaganda video showcasing the captured military hardware tanks, armored personnel carriers, and huge caches of ammunition, as well as gruesome images of the dead and interrogations of captured KDF soldiers. The psychological impact was immense. The KDF eventually launched a counteroffensive, managing to retake the base 4 days later, on January 19th. Their efforts also led to retaliatory airstrikes, including one that allegedly killed Mayalim Janau, the Al-Shabaab leader believed to have orchestrated the attack. But the initial defeat was a stunning indictment of the mission's preparedness. Analysts pointed to tactical failures, insufficient barriers, a lack of air support for a rapid response, and a failure to heed prior intelligence. El-Adde became a tragic case study in the perils of counterinsurgency warfare. Beyond the numbers and the strategic analysis, the true cost of El-Adde lies in the lives lost and the families left behind. The soldiers were fathers, sons, and brothers committed to defending their country. Survivors' accounts, often relayed through books or private interviews, paint a grim picture. The sound of the explosion, the scramble for weapons, the desperation of escaping into the wilderness, and the gut-wrenching decision of wounded comrades to take their own lives rather than be captured and brutalized by the militants. The long-term legacy of El-Adde is complex. It forced a painful reassessment of Kenya's military strategy in Somalia. It exposed vulnerabilities in the AMISOM framework, highlighting the need for better communication, coordination, and rapid response capabilities across the multinational force. The war against Al-Shabaab continues, but the lessons learned at El-Adde have undoubtedly contributed to a more resilient and cautious approach in subsequent operations. January 15, 2016 remains a dark chapter. A day when a well-planned, overwhelming assault by Al-Shabaab turned a forward operating base into a scene of massacre. The exact toll may never be officially confirmed, but the sacrifice of those Kenyan soldiers will not be forgotten. Their memory is a heavy reminder of the human cost of the fight against terrorism, a fight that East Africa continues to wage against a ruthless and adaptable enemy. The war in Somalia is a war of attrition, marked by long periods of quiet interspersed with moments of sudden, devastating violence. El-Adde was one of the most devastating of those moments, but it serves as a permanent testament to the bravery of the men who faced overwhelming odds and the enduring need for vigilance in the face of terror. Please like and subscribe for more deep dives into geopolitical conflicts,